Good morning if you're in the West Coast. Good afternoon if you're in Europe. And good evening, good middle of the night if you're from India. So, once again, greetings from India. Very happy to be here for the fourth session. Welcome you all. And like with every week, let's again start with a little bit of a recentering to land here in this space, bring our energies together to become centered. So, if you have any electronic devices, anything that you don't need, that you'd like to put on silence, this is a good moment to put it away from your energy field. That always helps, not just during these sessions, but as a general rule in life. With those things kept away, find yourself a comfortable position, relaxed, spine straight, eyes closed, shoulders relaxed, and gently bring your attention to your body. Feel your body. Notice all sensations across your body. Any discomforts or aches anywhere, observe. Any ease or lightness or relaxation anywhere, observe. Always hold your body and its sensations in your awareness. As you gently expand your awareness and start observing also your breath. Feel your breath. And as you observe your breath, inhale deeply into your belly and exhale. And again. And bring your attention to your heart region. Feel your heartbeat. Inhale slowly and deeply into your heart region and exhale through your heart. And bring into your awareness your intention that you set in the first master class, the area of life where you would like to manifest more abundance. In this expanded state of consciousness, hold that intention in your awareness. And one more time into your heart region. Inhale and exhale. And gently return to this conversation. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Thank you. How beautiful is this? Lovely. And yes, let's dive into the standards. Let's reaffirm our standards for this masterclass, this session. And here up on the screen, you can see the list of standards that we co-sourced during the first masterclass. And using our heart, let's navigate through these standards with the heart, sensing inwards which of these standards are most resonating for you at this moment. Togetherness, balance, self-development, authenticity, respect, rage, freedom. I am deserving, highest service. And yes, indeed, into the chat box, please write down those standards most resonating with you today. Naveed mentioned respect and authenticity. Mary, being honest with myself, how beautiful. Yeah. Alexander, always connected with my soul. Manon, respect. Marcus, fully aware of presence. Monica, courage, authenticity. Calm, loving presence from Paul. Marian, authenticity and self-honesty. Beautiful. Monica, again, honesty with myself and service to others. Yeah, I want to reaffirm the standard of play and joy, and also authenticity. Hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. What a beautiful way to start any space, coming together, recentering a little bit, reaffirming some sacred standards that keep this space sacred. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much for this little, setting the space. And let's go to the next slide and check out the table of content. In a couple of minutes, we will jump into a little bit of a review of the last few days of practice. And then we'll get working, we'll get cracking on the fourth law. And then with some practicalities, Q&A, etc., we'll be ready to close. For now, going to the next slide, that is the debrief of the last week. Let's see. And Naveed seems to have a quick question before we start. Please go ahead, Naveed. Do you want to put that in the chat box, or is that something for which you'd like to come on the screen?
I will come on the screen just very, very briefly.
Lovely.
Reflecting on today, I am really, really struggling to do the homework. And it's like there is a block in my brain that is stopping me from doing the full work. And I'm curious, and we can answer this later, but I'm curious whether A, is this common? B, is anyone else having this problem? And C, how do I, like, it's like almost a self-sabotage, and I want to get past that block, because I want to get to the other side, but yeah, there is something that's stopping me from doing the work.
Wow. Naveen, firstly, I wanna acknowledge your fierce authenticity. It's once we leave this space, life takes over. All the responsibilities and commitments of life take over. And then to kind of continue to keep the flame of this practice alive, even if it is only for 15 or 20 minutes a day, to give ourselves the luxury of that practice doesn't become easy. So I have great empathy for what you're sharing. And different strategies, and you please use the chat box to write down what strategy works for you. Different people, all of us in the audience, what strategy works for you, please write it down. I can share off the top of my head a couple of strategies that work for me. One for me is I create systems in place that works for me. For everything that I do, I think some of you know that I have an invitation to work together with Netflix to launch a documentary series. It is not easy work for me. The honeymoon period is done. And now all the nitty-gritties of the post-production, the editing and all that stuff, and helping the director and the cinematographer and keeping the initiatives together, making sure that the documentary reflects the spiritual truths of my tradition, all of that is a little, overwhelming for me. So the way I deal with it is I've created a system. Every Monday at 5 p.m. European time, I have 1 hour with my team. Same thing in my own practice of the mature masculine, abundance. I've actually created this 20 minutes every morning for my own personal development practice. I just simply do not go have my breakfast until I've taken those 20 minutes. So creating that kind of system works for me. I also do know some people have shared with me in the past that when they when they create some buddies from within this cohort, it works for them to partner up with some other people in this group. They told me it works for them. A third strategy that I have actually heard somebody speak about off the top of my head is, just be the hero. I had somebody say, like, absolutely, like, just break through the discomfort, the procrastination, the inertia, and all of that, and then forcefully, just like, you know what? This is my dragon to slay. I'm just absolutely through the pain going to make my 15 minutes available. And it also seem to bring meaning to people. And I see a few remarks here. Marian says, reorienting in the now, being present, opening space for the saboteur, and taking it into my heart, embracing it with appreciation. Beautiful. Monica, being a leader of my mind, not following blindly. And Mary, I normally do the exercises in the morning while I'm at work. Put some time aside. Beautiful. Lovely. Navid, anything that's coming up for you? Is this helping you?
Yes, and as ever, it's Sujith. If this is still a struggle for you, then that makes me feel a little bit better. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Navid, for bringing this up. I do know that you're speaking on behalf of others too. Lovely. To over to the next slide. This actually already we begun. You know, Thank you, Navid, for creating this segue. Yeah, here we are. If you look at the last 7 days, you know, how am I progressing with my intention? How am I bringing alive the third law, which is the law of detachment? What you receive is proportional to your level of detachment from the reward. And with that, I'd like to request Michael, if he can help set us all up for, let's say, 8 minutes in a breakout room so that we can actually dive into the last uh, 7 days and see how the lessons have been emerging in our lives. Michael? Let's say just 8 minutes. There you are. Just click on that join breakout room button, and you will automatically be taken into your group where you can do your inquiry together with others.
We're back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you. What would be great is to open up this space for a few minutes and invite you to share any profound illuminations, any lessons from the last 7 days, any ahas that you received in these last few minutes of togetherness. You're welcome to share. You can raise your digital hand if you'd like to join me here. Paul, you have. And anybody else, if you have anything that you want to share, put into the chat box. You're welcome to put it in the chat box. Hi, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, I've noticed that during this last week, things from different disciplines that I'm pursuing have fit together nicely in that one of the main topics that showed up is my perception of myself as being not enough, which comes out of childhood and a long history, and how that fits with detachment. And it's like, okay, I've got a concept of myself as not enough that I've had for 70 years, well, probably 70 years. And it's time to give it up and move on. Thank you.
Wow. How inspirational, Paul. How inspirational. I get goosebumps when I listen to you. You just said that you're 70 years old in this form, and you're still so passionate about your purposive evolution. Now, you remind me that we can start any day of our life to really be a better version of ourselves. Beautiful. Yes. And in what you shared, there's another takeaway for me that I want to fully claim, remind myself of. And that is this conditioning that we carry. And in our mystical tradition, we have a recognition that when we are born as a reflection of the infinite, of the divine. And in that infiniteness, where we are completely in the knowing of our existence, in awareness, in bliss, we are fully abundant. And as life's experiences kick in, they start conditioning us, constraining us, start perhaps even inculcating within us a sense of lack or scarcity, simply because of our life experiences. And then, long story short, we suddenly find ourselves in a journey like this, where we start peeling those layers of the onion to return to that infinite again. Like at the core of the onion is that nothingness, which is essentially everythingness, where the potentiality of everything resides. Returning to that involves peeling, subtracting those layers of the onion to return to that abundance. What a beautiful reminder, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much. I see that Marcus, you have your digital hand up. You want to share with us?
Yeah, short. I will do the short version.
Go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for bringing this training up again, because I recognize so much progression within myself and how the laws working, where we working together with the laws and the exercise, everything combined. It's really profound in to see, and also I shared with Alexander today in the group. It's like the simple things that already happening now, the echo, and the giving and the receiving without expecting anything back, just waiting there, and the moment you will see, it will definitely come to you, and you foreseen the steps that you're actually making, and then you are in that situation, and then you know the direction that you need to take because you already foreseen it, because you received it back. And that's really beautiful. And also to see the responses from other people if you just give without expecting anything back. So I can say that this is the first year that I actually have the capacity to create a persistence and how do you say the other one? Regelmaat. Maybe the Dutch guys, just the structure of it, the structure and the couple of minutes that I take every day, the affirmation, the meditation, and the mantras.
The discipline.
Yeah, discipline was my thing because I heard Naveed saying something, and I was like, "Wow, that was my story of my life." So it will change. It will change. So thank you.
It has already changed.
Yeah.
We don't want to keep it for the future. It will change.
Yeah.
What a beautiful reminder, Marcus. You're always an inspiration for me. And in your words, I hear the words of a realized person. You're already realized. That you've already been on this journey for such a long time, and your illuminations. You already claimed so many of your illuminations. Very, very inspirational. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And the way you are when it comes to giving selflessly, I've seen that. I've been a recipient of your generosity in my life already in the past. And the last remark that you made is a profound reminder for all of us that you've created that discipline, that system. That's so valuable. That's why standards are important. A standard can just be a value or a principle, or a standard can also be an agreement that we make with ourselves or with others, or a standard can also be a practice. And setting these standards help us. I know it helps me, and it has helped many people around me that I've witnessed. And yes, for all of us, what a reminder that if we would keep creating the systems and persisting with discipline, after a while, we just automatically embody that practice and it becomes our destiny. What a beautiful reminder. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you so much for your sharing. Good reminders there. Is there anybody else with any other remarks before we jump into the next practice? Well, in that case, this week, our immersion into the fourth law, the law of exponentiality, is going to be slightly different than the last week's. Here, I'm just outright inviting you into your breakout rooms to take, let's say, 12 minutes in the breakout room this time. And do a little exercise together as a group, as a cohort, as a triad. And for this exercise, here is the invitation. The invitation is to just recollect from your life, and this should not be difficult for all of you. I know you're all already awakened, advanced people. So for you, this invitation is going to be very easy. Just ask yourself, find for yourself an occasion where you have engaged in true giving. Make it a concrete instance where you practice true giving. And do you have any recollection what were the three qualities of true giving? I think it was during session 1 or session 2. I shared this with you. So in the chat box, if you have any recollection, what are the three qualities of true giving? Then please do share in the chat box. I'll just give you, just 10, 15 seconds just to refresh your memory. Please put it there. Otherwise, and then I'll share. Mary already shared. Purity, yes, a purity of intention. Giving from a pure place. Oh, absolutely. Passion. That means giving with complete lack of division within. Every cell in our body wants to give. No self-doubt, no nothing. That's passion. And non-attachment, detachment. One of complete non-attachment from the reward. I'm giving because I'm giving. Beautiful. And Marion also, Marcus also, yeah. Indeed, those are the three qualities of true giving. Giving from a place of pureness, complete lack of division or doubt within, and complete non-attachment. Beautiful. Now, step 1 of the exercise when you get into the group or even before is to identify that one act of true giving somewhere in your life, maybe as a parent or as a good neighbor or as a colleague or a friend, one act. And then here is the second part where the triad will help. Ask yourself, all the payoffs you receive, now that you look back into your life, all the payoffs that you received from that act of giving. You might actually come across many, many different kinds of payoff. Of course, there's a material payoff, You might just materially receive a return, but also at a very archetypal level, there might be payoffs. So if we can go to the next 2 slides, and if you want to make any notes, there are 9 pointers for your reflection, and I'm happy to put all of these into the chat box. So for you to use while you're in the breakout room. These are the 9 prompts to help you identify the payoffs that you receive from that act of giving, in that moment of giving or thereafter. Maybe you experienced an expansion of love. Maybe you created an expansion of beauty. Or did you experience an expansion of power, inner power? Or did you facilitate an expansion of abundance, both for yourself and for others, through that act of giving? Did you trigger an expansion of goodness through that act of giving? And have you enabled an expansion of justice, fairness, justness, equality, equity? Have you enabled an expansion of truth? Have you arrived at truth and awareness, or has the other person healed or come to awareness of abundance? Have you experienced an expansion of wholeness, a wholeness between the inner and the outer, the other person, you and the other, between your inner world and the outer world, the transcendent and the immanent? Did you experience some kind of wholeness creation? And lastly, did you enable an expansion of the self, as in self-realization, being self-realized in the act of giving? So here are 9 prompts for you for the next 12 minutes with your group to deepen into what were the payoffs from that act of true giving? And just make some simple notes, whether it's on a device or on a piece of paper. And when we come back, we will do a little bit of downloading and sharing. And I'm going to copy these 9 prompts into the chat box. So it's there for you to read and reflect upon. And Michael, if you would be so kind to put us into breakout rooms, what I'll do is I will dig out those 9 prompts.
Are we ready to go in the room, Sujit?
Yes. And I've put those prompts in the chat box. So yes, please. You might already receive the prompt on your screen. Please join your room. Use these different trigger questions and inventorize, list all the payoffs that you received from that act of true giving. Lovely. Welcome back. Welcome back. It feels like you've been away for a very long time. I was starting to get very lonely. Good. Beautiful. That exercise. Feel welcome. You have the chat box. If you want to enter anything in the chat box, you can. You had the 9 prompts that I shared over there. If you want to raise your digital hand and then come on the screen with me, you're welcome to, and very briefly share some of the payoffs that you received through that act of true giving. Paul, please.
I
Go ahead.
started out with talking about cooking, and as long as I cook for the enjoyment of doing it rather than expecting any kind of reward, it's a flow. And then the conversation in our breakout room went to, just followed on that, and it went about the flow when we just give because that's our nature is to give. Then we're in the flow and we enjoy it, and it's true giving. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Paul, for sharing that. Clearly, from your words, I get the sense it is indeed an act of true giving for you. Now, if I can prod a little deeper on that, while you are in that act of cooking, do you notice any of these creations of love, beauty, power, abundance, goodness, justice, truth, wholeness, self-realization, anything?
Yeah, a lot of the around wholeness, it engages me, and it lets me express, and I have to surrender to the heat of it or the you don't have it. It's like you think you have control, or it's tempting to think you have control. In the meantime, you might be burning stuff and making a mess of it. And it's just the fun of doing it and the enjoyment of giving it away.
Wow, wow, beautiful. So I heard you speak about wholeness. And I also, by the way, I have to say, Paul, I love cooking. I love cooking. It's for me, it's yoga, cooking. And cooking for my kids, for others. And while I do the cooking, of course, the immediate payoff is I have good, delicious food, or at least it's delicious for me. There's no argument about it. I prepare the most delicious food on the planet for me. But indeed, there's food in it. But also, there is an expression of love in it for me. I mostly cook for my kids, and it's the joy that comes out of that, the love that gets expressed in it, is a payoff. But also, I'm not just a random cook, just taking some processed food in a carton box and then opening it and then throwing it on the fire. No, I like to cut my vegetables from scratch. I like to, sequence my cooking with the right level of perfection in it, etc. It's a piece of art. It is actually the manifestation of beauty. It is me kind of showing up in my inner authority with my kids, the power, the inner power of being in choiceful service. Of course, there is a celebration of the abundance that we have together. That's to the abundance. It's an act of goodness, as a conscious father, at least as a practitioner of conscious fatherhood. It is an act of goodness of me being in celebrating my fatherhood through that act for my kids. So the payoffs for me are at many, many different levels. Just to go through the prompts here. Thank you, Paul. Is anything else coming up for you on payoffs from this act of cooking that you receive?
It reminds me of a Sufi teacher that I followed years ago, and he put the focus on selfless service, of being of service and selflessly, not in it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Extremely inspirational, lovely. And yeah, Naveed, you have your hand up.
So I was saying to my group, I actually found this incredibly painful and difficult because giving for me is a completely invisible act. And I never, ever talk to any, this is literally the first time I've ever talked about giving to anyone. So I found that incredibly hard. And it reminded me, my wife told me there's an Islamic saying, which is giving should be, when you give with your right hand, your left hand should know nothing about it. And so it comes from that, I mean, just to echo Paul's point, it comes from a completely selfless place, and you do it in such a way that your ego doesn't get involved. So this was a very interesting exercise and also very difficult, and that's so thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. What you talk about, actually, I've written an entire heading on this in chapter 4 of the 7 mystical laws of abundance, where I treat the law of exponentiality. It's the act of bringing awareness into our giving. And there's a fine line there, as you accurately pointed out, Naveed, that if we are completely oblivious of our act of giving, then our ego doesn't kick in. Very easy to keep our ego harnessed. What is the other extreme? The other extreme of the pendulum could be one where I'm aware of my act of giving. I'm mindful. I have the awareness. I'm conscious of my act of giving. However, when I do that, there's a very strong likelihood that my ego gets stoked. There's a likelihood of that happening. The challenge for us as heroes, as mystics, as conscious beings is, how do we hold our giving in awareness while disengaging the ego from the act? That is a third way. When I can do that purely as a witness of my act of true giving, that is an extremely exponential place to be. Because suddenly, and I'll come to the 4th law in a minute, there's a multiplication effect of the reward. And there's, of course, a little bit of a threat in knowing all of this, because once we know it, we cannot unknow it anymore. That means the next time when I start engaging in giving, there's a likelihood that my mind would mess with the act of true giving. But our journey of purposive evolution is a journey of expanding in awareness in such a way that we can actually be the giver and also be the witness of giving. And once we can find that place, that's when exponentiality happens. And I'm happy to disclose the 4th law. The 4th law of abundance is the law of exponentiality, which just says that actually receiving is exponential to giving. It is not proportional. It's not equal to giving. It is exponential to giving. And this is a function of consciousness. There we have it on the screen. Receiving is exponential to giving. And that is in a conscious universe. The more conscious we are in our act of giving, in our own act of being, the more exponential the reward becomes. The more and more I can perform the act of true giving, the more and more the receiving, the rewards become exponential. And I think in some of the sharings that I already heard, I see that exponentiality. Now, Paul was talking about cooking. I relate to that. And I'm looking here in the chat box. I think Marcus was talking about the manifestation of beauty in the act of giving. What else is there? Marian has a very interesting remark that in true giving, there is no other. Oh, yes. What a beautiful reminder. Yes. In fact, that is a core essence of the first law. You know, I am the giver. I am the receiver. There is no other. There is no object, subject, divine. It is just that oneness. And the 9 prompts that I put in the chat box are very, very valuable for us. Because you suddenly start realizing that, like Naveed, like you said, you're so much in the act of selfless service, in the act of true giving, that you're absolutely oblivious of that giving itself. And now that we are doing this exercise together, you realize, wow, what I receive indeed from those acts of true giving is exponential. Of course, I maybe get paid back for my service. Maybe I get an acknowledgement of gratitude. But then there's also the realization of the love that I experience within, that I receive from others, the beauty that I manifest in the act of giving, the power that I feel, which is a reward in itself, in that act of true giving, the abundance that I spoke about in one of the inquiries, the justice, the truth, the goodness, the wholeness, the self-realization that comes through that act of true giving. All of those are payoffs. And suddenly we notice through true giving, we receive so much more than what we gave. That is the essence of the 4th law. The incredible beauty of the act of true giving. And there's also a quantum basis to the law of exponentiality. The universe is a singularity of limitless potentiality, which is exponentially expanding in abundance. Essentially, what it means is, from a quantum perspective, there's absolutely no basis for limitations. Forget about the laws of physics. Energy is never created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to the other. That's what you learned in physics class. When in my case, when I was a bad student in school, I was taught that, which is true, but it's only true in the realm of physics, of matter. That's where it's true. Otherwise, from a quantum perspective, it is completely untrue. And there you have it. I got into trouble with my teachers because I grew up from 4 years old. I've been on my spiritual path. So I'm on my spiritual path where I learn that the universe is a realm of infinite abundance. I learn about that from my spiritual masters. And then I go to my regular school where my teacher tells me energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. And I suddenly have my hands up. Sorry, teacher, I object. The next thing I know, go visit the principal. So much for defying the conventional notion. The important thing here is, in a quantum perspective, that we recognize the potentiality of all of abundance, all of creation is there. If we can imagine it, we can manifest it. That potentiality rests in the universe. All we need to do is to self-attune ourselves with the 7 laws. Paul, you have your digital hand up. Please.
Makes me remember that food can get transformed into love very easily.
Amen to that. Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. From growing to cooking to saying grace to eating to not wasting to clearing, it's an act of love. It can be an act of love. It's just an act of, we have a choice. And Connie, my dear friend from North America, she says here in the chat box, giving draws you closer to one. You receiver in relation. I'm not sure I fully understood that statement.
You draw closer.
Yes, to the receiver. Yeah,
Sorry
yes,
if that was
yes.
incorrect. Yeah.
Uh-huh. How
And I was
lovely
the
to hear.
school principal that I loved those kids that came that questioned the system.
That was me, Connie. That was me.
Well, we would have had hot chocolate or we would have had a good chit chat and I would have really loved hearing from you as I am now.
Oh, there you go. How nice to see you. Thank you, Connie. Indeed, and at some unconscious level, all kids know this, know that, the universe is a realm of infinite abundance. All of us adults unconsciously, somewhere in our unconscious, we know it. We just forgot it. That's all. So back to that little slide on the 4th law, Michael, that the quantum perspective. Yeah. It's a singular, the universe is a singularity of limitless potentiality, where we have the potentiality of all of abundance to manifest. This is important for us to know because very often we reduce, none of you guys, but probably some of your neighbors where you live, they reduce giving and receiving into transactions, just transactions. I borrowed a few eggs from the neighbor, and a few days later, I returned a few eggs. Rather than elevating that into a vortex of abundance. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you so much for this. Are there any questions, any remarks on this before we start to segue into the practicalities for the week ahead? Any questions, any remarks, anybody, please don't hesitate to raise your digital hand or put your notes, your thoughts in the chat box. And while we wait, Michael, if we can just go to the next slide. That's about all the practicalities for the coming days. Again, you will remember all of this. You have the workbook, and with great discipline, we have Michael every day reminding us, inviting us to our homework of the day, our little practice of the day. Thank you, Michael, for being who you are and the service that you extend to the group. And of course, there is warm space coupled with the abundance card that you receive in your cohort. You know, there's a card, it gives you the opportunity to meditate together on whatever is the message of that card this week. So you have that. Again, the invitation is use it. Just, like Naveed's earlier question at the beginning of this masterclass, any strategy to kind of stay on course, do the daily practices. Maybe the cards can be valuable prompts. Taking the card, closing the eyes, going into some reflection, and then joining the others on Warm Space platform. That already is a beautiful way of connectedness with each other. Listening, speaking, evolving together, sharing love. You're already part of the WhatsApp group and the backend platform. And the last remark there is about, indeed, the donation thing. If any time along the way, whenever your heart feels in overflow of abundance of love, then the donation is welcomed. That's all about the practicalities. And the last one, of course, the last slide is a Q&A. So go for it. On any of the topics, your process, anything, the fourth law. If you have any questions or remarks, please share. And we'll close off in a couple of minutes. Well, like I shared once before, silence can mean either of two things. Either everything that's transpiring here is totally, totally clear to you, or nothing is making sense. There's perfection in both states. Either ways, please know that I'm always available. Should you want to send me a message, should you want to share something or clarify, but also, we are factoring in spaciousness into this process so that there is enough reflection time on each of the laws. I want to wish you well over the next actually 14 days. And I'll tell you why. Next Saturday, I'll not be able to join this class, but don't worry. Let me finish this statement. Don't worry. I'll not be physically in this space because I'll be in a pilgrimage somewhere. And so I'll not be able to join the class. However, you receive an upgrade for next Saturday. And that is, you'll have all the material brought together, and Michael will facilitate the process. And I will be there energetically, but also from the background, preparing everything so that you have a beautiful session next Saturday. And so with that, this is a good moment to say goodbye for today. So those of you who are in North America, have a good day ahead. Those in Europe, have a good evening. And those in India, now it's midnight and time to say good night. So once again, thank you all for enriching my life on this journey of becoming abundance again. Have a great day ahead, great evening, and I'll say goodbye to everyone. Bye-bye.